And welcome back to another Deck Tech. I am BBD. This is Brad Nelson, which you already knew that because you watched Brad Nelson's Deck Tech.
Maybe. They might just like you, so they just watch your Deck Techs and skip mine.
Maybe. Also, this deck is gas, so maybe they just want to see this gassy deck.
That is true.
All right, well, let's take a look at it.
Okay.
So this is like the Abzan aggro deck, and I love this deck a lot because I've been trying to make this Abzan aggro work. And I've been trying some crazy stuff, and it hasn't been that great. But I actually really like the direction of this deck.
Well, yeah, I mean, Aaron Birch has been designing awesome Naya decks forever. Like, he's very good at 3-color aggressive strategies.
Yeah.
I would consider him the best hyper-aggressive deck builder there is right now. Like, I've taken a lot of his ideas and built upon them. Even like in the past couple years, and I didn't even know it was him. Like, I just saw a Moto deck, I'm like, oh, that looks interesting. I'm gonna start working on a deck like this, and it's just been him this whole time. And he's also like top-aided well over 50% of his standard opens with aggressive strategies. Like in the last 2 years, it's mind-boggling impressive. Like,
yeah, that is really impressive.
Yeah, I see this kid going somewhere with Magic in the next couple of years because you just look at this. This is not something anyone else is gonna find. Like, I've been wanting to play Gather Courage for so long. So, like, when I played him in the Open, and he knew I had an Anger of the Gods from a Thoughtseize, and he just, like, still played another creature out, and I'm just like, I've been trying to do that for so long. Like, he didn't even play it yet. I just knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, one of the things, so I've really loved the Abzan aggro show because I like these two. I like Air of the Wilds and Fleet's Mainline a lot, and Death Dealer's really great in the late game. And Anafense has been awesome for me. But where like it really fell apart for me was like some of the supporting cards just weren't there. Like, I loved Abzan Charm, but Hero's Downfall just wasn't cutting it for me, and things like that. And I really
what about Murderous Cut?
That was cutting it for me.
Okay, yeah.
Like, it sucked as a spell, but it was really cutting.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's cutting edge technology. But yeah, I love that he like reduced the curve with Blood-Soaked and Soldier of the Pantheon, and then has like these Gather Courages and this Become Immense to just really like, you know, crush your opponent.
Oh yeah, I mean he cast Gather Courage against me and it just blew me out. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm just easily winning this, and I'm at 1 life.
Yeah, and then the reason I like Abzan aggro so much is because it takes advantage of Siege Rhino better because the drain actually matters. And it does matter like with the more controlling versions of Abzan, but I think it matters more here where your opponent's under a lot of pressure and they're using all the removal spells to kill like Anafenses and things. So they don't always have a removal spell for Rhino, and you're putting so much pressure on them that's actually going to like kill them.
Yeah, I mean, a Rhino's damage from like Abzan midrange is like isn't relevant until it becomes relevant. Yeah. Just like how life totals matter. Like, but in this deck, like you're not initially putting them at 16. You're putting them at 3 or 3 to 7 life by the time you cast a Rhino. If you're winning that game, right? You're just putting aggression on the board. And by the time you play a Rhino, they're really low on life. And so the Rhino is very relevant. And not only does the drain make these more threatening, but this body has to be dealt with first. So like by casting this and dropping them into the single digits, it's allowing these guys to do a little bit more damage as well.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, and like I said, I've been like I put a lot of time into like this archetype, and a lot of the things that I was moving towards, I see that he has done as well, which is like the Blood-Soaked Champions and the Boon Satyrs were like 2 ideas that I really wanted to work with next. And like his deck's just miles ahead of where I was because I'm just not very good at building these kinds of decks. But I think that I do really like that. Like I like the Boon Satyr over Herald of Torment, just as another like really cheap guy that turns on Air of the Wilds. But it's also really good with like the trample on this or things like that.
Well, it's also just a flash threat, and flash threats are always more threatening because if he passes with 3 mana up, like everyone else is going to think Downfall or Abzan Charm.
Yeah.
And so you might like want to pick a creature off that turn instead of play a threat. Whereas like it actually just means Boon Satyr. So you're going to like try to pick apart a threat to try to off-tempo them, and you don't off-tempo them. They still get to play more creatures. So it was correct to actually play your like
yeah, so
threat.
Like you have like a Rhino and an Abzan Charm in your hand, your opponent passes with 3 mana. You're going to be like, well, I'm just going to Abzan Charm the Lion so that they can't just kill my Rhino and keep attacking me.
Yep.
But if it's Boon Satyr, you actually just made the wrong play.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's why the flash threats are so powerful in decks like this.
But yeah, I like this deck a lot. Let's go ahead and look at the sideboard and see what we have there. All right, so for the sideboard, we have a lot of options. Like, Thoughtseize is going to come in. Sometimes maybe, like, green decks where we don't want Soldier of the Pantheon. We'll swap that out for, like, Thoughtseize and things like that. And then we have, like, another Gather Courage and some removal spells, which I think it's, like, a deck like this that doesn't have a lot of removal spells, I think you always want to have access to some in your sideboard.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why he's, like, playing this one, though, over Hero's Downfall, just because it can, like, deal with whips. But I do feel like the deck is a little loose to Planeswalkers if they get going, but I guess he's just trying to win the game before that actually happens.
Yeah, I think that's the game plan, is to just win before they get there. I agree, like, Elspeth seems like a big problem for the deck. But I also think the Banishing Light's there because of the mana. I'm not sure that double black is that effective, which is why we have Bile-Blight in the sideboard.
That is true, yeah. Since Downfall is so tough, we have this one Bile-Blight. But that does help deal with a lot of tokens. And
Hordling Outbursts and things like that.
No, I definitely can dig this deck list. And knowing Aaron, he has put a lot of thought into it, so he has given himself a good reason to be playing for Nyx Fleece Ram.
Yeah, I'm not sure I 100% agree with that, but I know there's got to be a reason. Like, you do deal a lot of damage to yourself with this deck, so... And
there's also matchups where that are also low to the ground that, like, having an element like this puts them having to kill you first.
Yeah.
Because every turn, you're gaining advantage. Like, you are drawing a card every 3 turns with this body, or with the ability, and the body also helps keep them from attacking you. So I can definitely see why the deck wants to play for Nyx Fleece Rams.
Also, if you've never killed your opponent with a Nyx Fleece Ram that has become immense, you're doing something wrong with your life.
I mean, I think everyone on this planet is doing something wrong with their life then.
Probably, because I don't know if anyone's ever done that.
I don't think anyone has.
I definitely haven't. Until today.
You're going to bring that in against my deck?
No, I'm actually not.
I would not think you'd want to bring it against my combo deck.
No, I wasn't planning on it. But yeah, hopefully this deck's sweet. We'll see you in our video, which you can scroll down to watch.
Makes me just want to do the Austin Powers thing now. I don't know why. Oh yeah, it's this.
Y'all ready for this? Dun, dun, Yeah, Soldier of the Pantheon, Blood-Soaked Champion, Fleecemane Lion, Rakshasa Death Dealer, Heir of the Wilds, and Defense of the Foremost Siege Rhino.
They're still on us. They're not on the cards yet.
Satyrs, Sorin Solemn Visitor, Become Immense, Gather Courage, Abzan Charm, Sideboard. Sideboard.
I need a minute. You feel great.